Hello, everyone. Here we are. We are live. I'm going to turn this little light on. Let's see if that helps us. Oh, it helps us a little bit. Oh, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, girls and boys. So I'm super happy to do this live with you guys. As soon as I see you, come on. How is everybody out there? Everybody okay? Everybody doing well? Let me get my little ducks in a row over here. Okay. We have so many, as you come on, we have so many texts to get to today, like a lot. But there's one major one I want to make sure that we get to. Blessings and good morning, Diana says. Adeline says, morning, beautiful. Well, good morning. Sometimes I feel like in the morning, like what normal people's morning is, it's like afternoon for me. Because I'm like, I've been up for a long time. Anyway, let me just get to my little pages here. How is everybody? Good morning. Hey, good morning. I'm going to wait until we get a good, healthy group of people on, and then we are going to talk all about waiting. And it's going to be so good. So good, you guys. So good. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure all this out. Here. How is everyone? Everyone's okay? All right, here we go. Oh, there's that. Did we stall? Are we there? Okay, I see a little heart sign. Doing great. Hope all is well. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for just reminding me that y'all still there. Okay, perfect. I should have waited a second and got my little ducks in a row. Claudia says, I shared. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been a minute since we've been on live. And good morning, Kimberly. Good morning. How are you? You guys, maybe if you know someone who is worried about waiting or they are waiting for something, the next 2 days are going to be super good. They're going to be really good. They're going to encourage your heart desperately. For those of you that are waiting for something huge. So share the video on out, share it to your friends, send it, so people can see just what God's word says about waiting. I have definitely, I've just been in a lot of studying. I'm kind of in a season of studying right now with the different projects and stuff that I'm working on. I do want to say good morning, Nichelle. How are you? I do want to say Easter is coming, and so I'm already starting to study for our Jesus Initiative for the week of Easter. We are going to do it on the week between Palm Sunday and Easter, and I just feel like God has given me such a different, unique, really, really cool perspective on Easter this year, and so I cannot wait to share it with you guys. So that's coming up here in a couple of weeks, which is why we did I have done a shorter waiting series just because it takes a lot of work to get these things going. You know what I mean? So, it definitely is the joy of my life, but I don't think people realize how important it is and how much time it takes to actually study and put things together in your brain. So that's that. Okay, Sheila, good morning. How are you? Christina, good morning. I know I went on a little bit early. So good morning, Michaela. Hi. Christy says she's good. Okay, great. I was so proud of my son, you guys. He said, he was like, yesterday, he said, Mom, well, I got to go in early to school. And I'm like, okay, what's up? And him and a group of his friends, guys, not even kidding, got together this morning of their own accord and are praying and worshiping. And I was just so proud of them. Parenthood, sometimes you wonder, you're like, is this stuff sinking in? Are you listening? Are you listening? But they are listening, and him being, almost 14 years old and having a 16-year-old and having been a parent for almost 17 years. I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's so beautiful to see, like, come through elementary and come through the preschool years and all those years and everything that you told them and instilled in them on those years, like, actually coming through and paying off. And so I'm just really proud of my son this morning. So yes, Megan, I'd be proud to. Thank you. Isn't that so cool? I mean, he's got so much courage and so much boldness for the Lord, and I love that. I love that. Okay, let's talk about waiting. Let's talk about waiting. Good morning, Rebecca. Rebecca, thank you for being so faithful. I see your name a lot, and I just love you so much. Let's talk about waiting. Now, I have one main point that I'm going to split up in 2 days, okay? Waiting is one of those things, and I think I've had a chapter on waiting in 2 of my books. I know Appointed definitely has a chapter on waiting. It's called The Significance of the Wait. And then Rahab, I know I talk about waiting, but I also talk about the pace of God in Rahab. So the timing, I think it's more about timing than waiting. But this is such a huge thing. This is something that we all struggle with. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you think you know. I don't care how old you are. You could be 175 years old, and waiting is still hard. Now, we learn to appreciate it as we get older. I know in my 20s, I hated to wait. I thought it was so frustrating and so annoying, and I hated doing it. But as I've grown and as I've seen the wisdom in the wait from the Lord's side, I've actually grown to appreciate it. But waiting is one of those things that teaches you without anything happening. It's so frustrating. It gives you an education without anything happening whatsoever. And that's why it is, that's why we hate it, because we are beings that we want to go to, Chick-fil-A and get our food in like 2 seconds. We want to order something on Amazon and get it the next day. So waiting, our culture doesn't cater to waiting. They don't respect waiting. They don't think that it's a good thing. But God, did I mess that up? Are we all still there? But God doesn't agree with culture, okay? Shocking. He doesn't agree with this super fast service. He's not into it. And he's not pressured to operate the way the quick service culture does. He's not pressured because he's God, okay? But when it comes to waiting, there are 2 main things that I want to talk about. And today, you might not like today, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about today. What I've learned, because I've waited for a lot of different things in my life, is there's 2 main reasons for waiting. Number 1, God is preparing you for the thing you're waiting for, okay? If you have a prayer request, and you just like, maybe it's like, I want a new job, I want a new whatever, I want a new opportunity, I want to get married, I want to have kids or whatever. Whatever that thing is, and broad stroke, you know what you're praying for and what you're waiting on. There is 2 sides to this coin. God could be preparing you for it, or he could be preparing it for you. Okay. Now, a lot of you guys know my story of adoption, and, God put in my heart that I was going to adopt, and I'll talk about this tomorrow, when I was 18 years old. Well, It wasn't ready for me because the babies weren't even conceived yet. Okay. We'll talk about that tomorrow, but there are so many factors that go into waiting that you aren't privy to. God is not going to tell you all the ins and outs of the things that he is doing where you can't see him actually piecing what you're waiting for together. We'll talk about all that tomorrow. Today, I want to talk about God is preparing you for it. Now, I love you, okay? But I've had to wait, and this has been one of the reasons for my wait. God called me to ministry fresh out of my first marriage. I wasn't ready. I told my husband this morning as we left, I've always been this person that I'm like, you know what? I'm only good at 3 things. I've never been someone that tried to tell people I'm good at 17 things or I'm just not, okay? And we were talking about that this morning, my husband and I'm like, it's so freeing. It's so freeing just to say, I don't know. I'm not good at this. And this is one of those things. God called me to ministry early on when I was about 21, and I was so eager. I was so ready. I was like, Jesus, yes. Now, I was doing ministry at the time, but not this ministry, right? I wasn't doing this. And I thought, oh, I'm so ready. Put me in, coach, is what I would pray for the Lord. I felt so passionate about doing what I'm doing right now. However, God in his wisdom knew homegirl wasn't ready, okay? I just wasn't. And I had to wait. He told me in 2001, Autumn, you're going to do ministry, that my own ministry, a ministry that God birthed, of course, through me. But I did not start doing that ministry until 2009, you guys. Okay, so that's a long time to wait. Years to wait. And I would get so frustrated during that time, and I would be like, my Lord, where is it you promised? And the Lord, in his goodness, wanted to prepare me for it first. During that time, I had 2 of my children. During that time, Eddie and I got married. During that time, God was really pressing on things in my life that needed to be purified, that needed to be, changed, that needed to grow, that needed to mature. And so that is one of my big examples today. Sometimes God says, this is for you, and we're going to talk about this in scripture in 1 second. He tells you what you're going to do, but it's not time to do that thing yet. Why? Because you aren't ready. Because you're not ready. Can we be humble enough to say, maybe I'm not ready? Maybe I'm not ready. Now, this is one of the reasons why we wait. Tomorrow we'll talk about the other one. But I want you guys to understand this is not a bad thing. This is a real thing. You don't want something too early. You don't. If God gave you something that maybe even now, the Spirit is saying, oh, I resonate with that. I'm resonating. I don't feel like I'm ready yet. If that's you and you're saying that to yourself right now, then that is incredible, okay? Because then you'll understand the reason for the wait, okay? When we see that there is a reason for us waiting all of a sudden is a good thing, and it's not a bad thing, okay? When I understood, when we would go through different things in ministry during that time period, people were telling me all sorts of crazy stuff, and I was like, this is not the Lord. I learned how to decipher between like someone actually speaking to me from the Lord and then someone just, saying whatever they want. I learned to discern what God was telling me. I learned so many things during those years that I desperately needed to know before we launched the ministry. Okay. It was so important. So waiting becomes a good thing when you understand why. When you understand maybe this, and I know this is like something that not everybody wants to hear, but it's true, okay? We don't pray for something huge and then the next day get it, because God is so good that he doesn't want to give it to us so we can just destroy us, so it can just destroy us because of our lack of experience. This is what the word says, and God actually gave me this verse this morning because I was praying for like a tire inner. Those tire inner verses? I knew like the guy that I was going to go to, but the tire inner verses, that's like, yes, this absolutely makes sense. And God is actually who reminded me of this verse this morning. And I want to start off the text portion of of this message with it. It says this. It'll be familiar to all those of you that have been in church forever, and to those of you who have not. You're gonna love this verse. Okay, I'm gonna start in Isaiah 41:21. I am gonna read this whole text. Hang with me. Do you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been declared to you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth. Oof, so good. And its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. Hang with me. This is so good. Scarcely they've been planted, scarcely they have sown, scarcely has their stock taken root in the earth, but he merely blows on them and they wither. So God is setting up in this passage of scripture his power, his authority. And that's important going into the verse that I'm going to read. The storm carries them away like stubble. To whom will you liken me, that I would be his equal, says the Holy One. Lift up your eyes on high and see who has created the stars, the one who leads forth their host by number. He calls them by name. He's setting up his power. He's telling you what's up. He's telling you how amazing he is, okay? Because of the greatness of his might and the strength of his power. See, told you, not one of them is missing. Verse 27 says this. Why do you say, O Jacob, and assert, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord? Why are you saying that? Why are you saying my way is hidden? God, where are you? Why are you saying that? God's asking you right here in Isaiah 41. And the justice due me escapes the notice of my God. Did you not know? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, does not become weary or tired. His understanding is inscrutable. He gives strength to the weary, and to him who lacks might, he increases strength. Now, this is where I want to tie in, because when we're waiting, sometimes God he knows we're not strong. So during that waiting period, he is increasing our strength, and we don't even realize it. Though even the 20-year-olds grow weary and tired, and vigorous young men stumble badly. Listen, this is why he gave me this. Those who wait on the Lord, verse 31, will gain new strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not get tired. They will walk and not become weary. Now, listen here, all ye out there. Yet those who wait on the Lord will gain new strength. What is that telling us? And the Lord is the one who gave me this verse this morning. I wasn't even thinking about this verse. And he's like, this is your filler verse. This is your verse. Okay. I I have preached this a lot. When you're waiting, you are developing a new strength. But in this particular message, it's so vitally important because what you don't know is as you're waiting on the Lord, you are developing new strength that will be needed for whatever you're waiting for. You need it. You're developing a new strength, and it is a good God that develops a new strength in you while you're waiting for that thing so that when it comes, you'll be able to meet it with strength. Make sense? Understand? That's why God's a genius, because of what he puts in his word, okay? Let me read it again, then we're going to get into my dude that I want to talk about here. Those who wait on the Lord, those who wait for the Lord they will gain new strength. They will mount up like with wings like eagles. They'll walk and not get tired. They'll run and not get tired. They'll walk and not become weary. Did you know you're gaining new strength? And it's going to be needed when you get that thing. That's how God develops us for it. Okay? I want to talk about my friend, King David, because he's awesome, because he actually had to do this. Now, I am going to give you lots of texts to make my point, lots of them. You don't have to write them all down. You can if you want to go back and study them. I have already looked at them myself, but I 100% want you guys, excuse me one second. I 100% want you guys to go in, and I want you guys to look up these yourself if you can. I've already looked over them. I already know what I'm going to say. David, King David, the very first introduction, and this is going to help you, those of you that are waiting for it and you are being prepared for it, for that thing, okay? The first introduction that we have to David is in 1 Samuel 16. In 1 Samuel 16, David is a teenager. Nobody knows about him. Nobody, okay? He is a shepherd and he's tending sheep. And the reason why this is so incredible introduction is because the very first time we even meet King David in the scripture, he's being anointed king over Israel. That's crazy. It's not like, and David was a youth and he was, no, it's like, where's David? Samuel wants to anoint him with oil right now to be king over Israel. Dude didn't even know what hit him, okay? He's a teenager, probably. And I did a lot of study on this. We know he's a teenager. He's not quite 20, because if he was 20, he would have gone and fought Goliath as a member of the army of that day. But he's not 20 yet. His brothers were there. He was not there. So he is less than that. So we know he is like a kid, all right? He's like 15 to 19, like he's a kid, all right? I got one of those kids in my house, all right? So we know that that's where he is. He also was not even being considered as one of Jesse's sons to be king. He wasn't even considered. It was like he didn't even exist. Woo, that'll preach. I wanna just read a little bit. Now, what is happening here is God got mad at King Saul. And he's like, no, done. He's done. I don't want him to lead my people anymore. He tells Samuel, the prophet, which we have talked about, I want you to go and anoint another king over Israel. So that's exactly what Samuel does. He goes to the house of Jesse and he looks through all of Jesse's sons, okay? And he goes through them all, and God's like, not it. I want to pick it up in 1 Samuel 16, verse 7. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance, at his height of stature, because I have rejected him. For God sees not as man sees, for God looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel, another one of his sons. And he said, the Lord has not chosen this one either. Next, Jesse made Shammah pass by, and he said, the Lord has not chosen this one either. Thus Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. But Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen these. Enter David, okay? And Samuel said to Jesse, are these all your children? And he said, there remains yet the youngest. The least shall be the greatest. This encapsulates that verse so well. And he said, there remains yet the youngest. Behold, he is tending the sheep. Then Samuel said to Jesse, send and bring him, for we will not sit down until he comes here. So he sent and brought him. Now he was ready with beautiful eyes. He had beautiful eyes. And it actually talks about his eyes a few times in scripture. So they must have been amazing. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. Then Samuel took his horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon David from that day forward. And Samuel arose and went to Ramah. Now, David is anointed. Listen, this is so good. David is anointed in secret. Who knows? Samuel, his brothers, Jesse, his dad, and maybe a handful of people in that community. Guess who does not know? King Saul. He does not know that this happened. Otherwise, he'd be mad, okay? He does not know. It does not say, and Saul was told. No, he didn't, okay? Saul saw and probably overheard that this had happened a while later, but at this moment, he does not know. Only David knows he is anointed, okay? Only David and a few people know. It did not happen. He did not take over the kingship the next day. It did not happen. He had to wait. Now I know from the text in 2 Samuel, David took over the kingship when he was 30 years old. He is a teenager right now. And he reigned for 40 years. The Bible is super direct and it tells you straight up. He took it over when he was 30 and he reigned for 40 years. So there is more than a 10-year gap between this moment and David actually taking over the kingship of the house of Israel. But guess what? Not one of those years, not one of those things were wasted because God was instilling in young baby David the things that he would need in order to take over the kingship. He did not say, okay, I've anointed you king. See you later. Worry about it. Worry about it for 10 years if I'm actually going to do it. Worry about it. Be anxious about it. Wring your hands over it. Oh, Lord, are you going to come through and make me king? Are you going to do this, Lord? Where are you, Lord? You promised this to me. He didn't do any of that. David simply waited, and then God entered him into an education for the next 10 years that would prepare him for reigning Israel for 40 years. Isn't that incredible? God loved David so much that he's like, I'm going to prepare you. You're going to need some lessons so that you'll be able to sustain reigning over Israel for 40 years. You're going to need some lessons, and I'm going to allow you during these 10 plus years to actually be introduced to the lesson and be victorious over the lesson, okay? So this is what happens immediately, right after David is anointed, and this is found in, 2 Samuel 4:4 tells you he started being king when he was 30 and he reigned for 40 years. You can look it up for yourself. 2 Samuel 4:4. 2 Samuel 4:4, okay? In 1 Samuel 16:11 through 13, which I just read, and I wrote all of these down because we have got to get back to looking at the text, people. We got to get back to it. 1 Samuel 16:11 through 13, David was anointed. Right after that, God sent an evil spirit to Saul. In 1 Samuel 16:18, he is summoned because God sent an evil spirit to Saul to torment him. He is summoned to come to play the harp for Saul. So God gave him favor. So God immediately, after he's anointed, is preparing him with favor. So he goes in, he plays everything for Saul, Immediately in 1 Samuel 17:26, you can look this up for yourself. I'm sorry. He becomes, I don't think this is right. I think it's 16:26 actually. Oh, anyway, this is what happens. He goes and he plays the harp for Saul, prepping him with favor. Then Saul immediately makes him his armor bearer. That is a really, really, really big deal for you to be someone's armor bearer, to like literally carry their armor in battle and give it to them when they need it. That's a super, super big deal. He's like his right-hand man immediately. So God is preparing David with favor. He's letting him in. He's letting Saul just see who he is. He's letting Saul be introduced to him, and Saul really likes him, and there's a lot of favor there. Then he is prepping David with success and favor over the people. And we see that, hang with me because this is so good. He goes to fight Goliath. He knows he's anointed king. He knows at this point he has favor with Saul. He goes and everyone's like freaking out over Goliath, and he steps up to the plate, and he has an audience with Saul, so he's able to say, what's going on here? Why is this guy like intimidating the armies of the living God? Saul then offers him his armor, and he rejects it, and he goes, we all know the story, take a little stone, and he kills Goliath, right? At that point, God prepped him with public courage. So he's prepped him with favor. He's prepped him with public courage. Then Goliath dies. He's prepping him with adversity and victory. He goes on. You guys, this is so good. He talks about how he killed the lion and the bear. God had already prepped him for the moment with Goliath. This is all happening during that waiting period. Then he goes and in 1 Samuel 18:1-3. And let me tell you what happens there. Saul starts rejecting him. He's prepping him with rejection. Do you know as a leader how many times you're going to get rejected? A lot. A ton. You have to be ready and prepared to take that as a leader. If you can't handle rejection, you're not going to be a very good leader, because people are going to reject your ideas. They're going to reject your vision. They're going to reject you as a person. They're not going to like you. They're not going to like what you say, blah, 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 blah. Okay? But God in 1 Samuel 18 is prepping David with rejection. Okay? He then preps him with a position. All right? He then goes over and is taking over the armies of Saul for him. Okay? So God, in 1 Samuel 18:20, he's prepping him with family. He gets married with family. He then has the chance to kill Saul because there's so many of these, because Saul doesn't like him at this point, and he chooses not to kill him. So he preps him with integrity. All this stuff is happening in these 10 years, and we see it in the pages of between 1 Samuel 16 and 2 Samuel. We see why David had to wait. He was David, and he had to wait. There are so many different things that God was teaching David while he waited. He was not ready yet to take over the kingship. He had to be taught. First of all, you need to get married. You've got to learn when people come to you with problems about marriage, you got to understand that. Second of all, you need to be prepped with integrity. So God did. He gave him a test and he passed. You need to be prepped with favor. What are you going to do when God gives you favor? Is your head going to blow up? Are you going to become conceited and arrogant? Like, what are you going to do with that? He needed to be prepped with adversity. He needed to take those things, those trials, to the Lord and let the Lord work them out. He needed to be prepped with rejection. He needed someone to say, guess what? I don't like you. So his whole existence did not depend on whether people liked him or not. It depended on whether he was approved by the living God. There are so many lessons in the pages between 1 Samuel 16 and 2 Samuel 4 before he was anointed king that King David, had to learn. It took more than 10 years for him to learn it before God said, all right, you're ready. You're ready. And then, of course, Jesus came from the line of David, the lineage of David. I'm really passionate about this because no one wants to learn anymore. No one. They're like, oh, I want this big, huge thing. I know it all. I'm awesome and I know it all. Well, no, you don't. I love you. No, you don't. I don't. We have to continue being in a process where we are humble enough to say, Lord, teach me what I need to know so that when that thing comes, I'll be able to walk into it prepared. Teach me what I don't know during this waiting period so when that time comes, I won't be second guessing myself because you've allowed it to come and I am going to walk boldly into it when it gets there. You know, when God made me wait, he made me wait. That's my story. He made me wait because I just was not ready. When the opportunity came for me to launch the ministry that you're listening to right now, it was so incredible because it was like a miracle that God did. And it wasn't just the opportunity that was the miracle. It was the change in me that was a miracle. It took 10 years for God to change me. But I had to heal from my first marriage. I had to heal from church hurt. I had to heal from all of the stuff. I had to grow up and just my thinking and adversity and things like that. The opportunity wasn't the greatest thing. It was what I knew God had done in me because I was completely different. I had completely changed. I remember when that opportunity came, of course, I was really passionate about it and I wanted it and all the things and prayed about it and all the things. However, when it came, I had become content with the wait because of Isaiah 40. Those that wait on the Lord will gain new strength. I had felt myself through the process of the pressing and the crushing that happened during those years. I had felt myself change. And guess how old I was? I think I was 30, actually. When the first conference went out, I think I was 30. I think I was. What you're waiting for right now, I know it's difficult. But when you see, you guys, when you see what God lovingly wants to construct in you so that you'll be successful when that thing comes, it is so worth it. What I faced in the first 5 years of ministry was very, 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 very hard. Very hard. It challenged every insecurity that I had. It challenged every, weak place in my life. I had people telling me all sorts of things like, why are you doing this? And it was just like insulting. I had to learn a whole new way of doing things. I was a leader, the top leader for the first time. In a long time, I literally had to relearn my whole life. And without those lessons of those years of waiting, I wouldn't have been able to be victorious. So whatever it is that you're waiting for, I know this is not like ushy gushy, whatever. You'll like tomorrow better. Let me tell you, you'll like tomorrow better. Whatever it is that you're waiting for. Learn to just ask the Lord, God, are you preparing me? Are you waiting because you're so loving that I'm still learning what I need to learn before that thing comes? Are you doing that? Because if you are, thank you. Thank you. It's a loving God that prepares us for what we're waiting for, right? Tomorrow we're going to talk about the difference of God not preparing you for it, but preparing it for you. Because there are, and I've got lots of stories about this. Sometimes you are ready. You are ready. God has taught you everything you need to know, but that thing isn't ready yet. And he doesn't want them to come together until that thing is ready to meet you, right? So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Walk in that new strength today. Be encouraged that just because you have to wait long doesn't mean it's not happening. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. Normally, God is doing the work in you to get you ready for that thing. Encourage yourself in the life pre-kingship of David. Read the pages of what he had to go through. Once he became king, of course he had adversity and stuff like that, but the major adversity that we read about his life is before he was anointed king. He was rejected, you guys, by the guy who he trusted the most. Like, it's crazy what you read. He had a lot of hurt, but he learned from it and gave it over to the Lord. So I hope this has encouraged you today. I love you guys. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, with that second part. Okay? Have an awesome day.